So my daughter turned 2. I really wanted to have a birthday party for her, but I didn't have any mom friends at the time, and she didn't have any kids her age that she actively, played with. And so I was like, okay, well, what are we going to do? Because for her first birthday, we had it here at the house. Pandemic was still very, very heavy. It was just me and my sisters and my aunt and my nephew, and that was it. And so I'm like, man, like I really want to do something nice and special for her birthday. And she loved animals, like she loved like the zoo and all that stuff. So my husband was like, what about a petting zoo? And I said, well, that's fine, but who are we gonna invite? Like, I don't know anyone. I knew one neighbor who had two boys. They were older than my daughter, but her and I, when I first moved here, had walked together a couple times. She worked, so her time was limited. And again, I was a stay-at-home parent at the time, so I had plenty of free time on my hands, meaning that I was home all day. So yeah, her and I would connect sometimes, but it wasn't, as often. But then I had neighbors, a set of neighbors who were retired military, and when we first came to look at this house, my husband was like, we should buy it. And I said, no. I said, I don't want to live over here because it literally was 5 minutes from where we used to live. So I was like, we're going to move. Let's like move. Like, let's move 30 minutes away. Let's move 20 minutes away. But down the street, come on. But one of the things I said, because my neighbor, he was very, very, very friendly, very warm, like an uncle or someone that you knew all your life. And when we were touring the neighborhood, the realtor at the time, she knew them because she had sold some properties in here. And so she was like, oh, you guys should connect. So we were talking to him, and he was like, yeah, if you move here, let me know if there's anything you need. And so I told my husband at that point in time, I said, if we actually ever need something, I believe like he is someone who would help. Fast forward, we bought the house. A year later, I'm throwing this party for my daughter. Literally didn't have anyone to invite. I invited the one neighbor. My sister was a nurse, and so she was working like a double shift or something that day. She couldn't come. My other sister was finishing law school, so she had classes. She couldn't come. My aunt also was working at the time at a different job, so she had to work on the weekends. So I had no one literally to invite to this party except for the one neighbor with the two boys. So my husband books the petting zoo anyway. He said, well, if there's no one out there except for you and the neighbor, like, just go ahead and do it. So we booked the petting zoo. They come, they're setting up. My neighbor comes walking down the street, the retired couple. They come walking down the street, and so, he was like, oh, what's going on? So I was telling him, having a party for her. I was like, well, it's not really a party. It's just more like, we're celebrating her birthday the way we want to. And so he was like, oh, I can go invite other people if you want me to. And I was like, well, do they have kids? And he was like, yeah, there's some other people that have kids, some it's like their grandkids. He's like, but I can invite them. And I was like, sure. So he went around like door to door, like telling people what time the party was going to be. They were setting it up. It was going to be in our front yard to come by. And so when the party started, I want to say it was probably like 10 neighbors that came by with their kids. And it turned into like a real party. And so my daughter, she's 2, so she's just happy to see the animals, and all the things. And then my neighbors, the retired couple, they were like, "Oh, we'll take pictures for you." They were taking pictures and videos for me, and they said, we'll send everything to you. That way, you have these for the memories. They brought their granddaughter at the time. Well, they have two grandkids now, but their granddaughter was smaller, the same age as my daughter. They went and got their granddaughter, brought her over, and to this day, my daughter and their granddaughter are like besties. They are very, very, very good friends. But they made it into a real party. And it reminded me of the first time where I actually felt like I was forming a community, although it wasn't someone who was my age or someone, who, particularly another mom who had small kids, but it was someone rallying behind me and saying, you don't have to worry about everything. You don't have to carry everything. We know your husband's traveling. We know he's not here. Let us help you. And that was what I was accustomed to, even being smaller as a kid, because I lived down the street from my grandmother. I lived down the street from my great aunt. My aunts, live close to me. Like they would come and get me. My other grandparents, my paternal grandparents, were 30 minutes away. They would come sometimes on the weekends, but really we would go to them on the weekends. So we were. It was like a close knit thing. There was never a time when my parents had to worry about who was going to watch us, because there were plenty of people who would watch us. And then, flip side, me out here by myself, like I don't got no babysitter, I don't got no one to come to this party. Like I was just like, what in the world am I gonna do? But having them, having my neighbors who came in, ironically, they moved here from New Jersey. I'm from New York originally. And so, we had that connection together. And, my husband was in the military. My neighbor was retired. He was in the military. So they had that connection together. But sometimes it takes a stranger who can become family. And him and his wife have become our family. We go up there, we hang out with them. They have a big barbecue every year. We hang out at their family barbecue. My daughter swears she's a part of their family. Like for the family photo, she's lining up, she's in a picture. So I'm like, get over here. But it all started with them, saying her husband, my neighbors walking down, the husband walking down and saying, "Hey, do you need help?" And it's always like that seed, like that kindness from a stranger, someone seeing, oh, she's doing parenting by herself. Oh, her husband's working. Oh, we don't see anyone coming over there. And it's just that kindness from a stranger that can start to break down those feelings of isolation, those feelings of loneliness as a parent, of not having a community, not having a tribe, not having people, who can support you and to show up for you and all those things. And so I'm just grateful that they came and made the introduction. I'm grateful that we actually did buy this home because I'm not really sure, what I would have done without them being here, and they continue to be here through my husband's health issues. My neighbor who I mentioned is retired. He comes and gets my husband, takes him to his doctor's appointments. Like they have been a God sent, like God sent them here for us. Okay. And so, yeah, it's just as amazing how sometimes deciding rather to move locations, that location can then set you up to start having the community that you are desiring, even if it's not someone that's your age, even if it's not someone with small kids themselves, but someone who's been through the parenting journey. His wife had been through the parenting journey. She knew what it felt like. Oh, her husband was traveling in the military, he was gone, he was deployed. She knew what that felt like to be there by herself. She understood. So she would text me like, are you good, you need something, we can go to the store for you. And so it's just those seeds of kindness that help parenting, really just helps parenting, makes things easier. So next time you see someone, if it's a mom, she's out in the store, maybe your kids have gotten a little bit bigger and you see them struggling, trying to put the stroller down or whatever, offer to help, because I do that all the time now. Do you need help? Because you never know with you saying, do you need help, what that's going to do for someone else's day who's already struggling when they're, carrying the burden. Well, not, I don't want to use the word burden, but carrying the lion's share of parenting by themselves, which can weigh you down. It can be, even if you're someone like me who tried for over 7 years to have children, and motherhood, like I say, is the best hood ever. I love it here. I love being a mom. I love taking my kids places. I love, hanging out with them on a daily basis, making them food, even when they're like, give me this, give me that. I just love every aspect of motherhood. I love it here. But it also makes it easier when you have someone who's willing and open to helping you to start building a tribe of your own. But have you ever been in that season where you felt alone as a parent, where you felt like, you don't have, all the tools, you don't have all the friends, you don't have, the grandparents nearby? Because my parents did not live here. They just moved here like a year ago. So they would call me, they would FaceTime me, but it wasn't the same as having them here. So if you've had a stranger that took you in, took your kids in, my neighbors have gone to my daughter's school for me, for grandparents' day before my parents moved down here. They have literally been the thing that I was looking for and have continued to help and guide me through parenting. But if you ever experienced that, you've ever had someone to help you, please let me know in the comments. I would love to hear your thoughts. I would love to know how you started building a tribe.